Bam! We're live now. Jontheprofit here. I'm about to do a little bit of mixing on some music. So, I'm going to go into Logic here and open the right file. Go ahead and save this one that we just did in the last live that I had. Alright. So, what I'm trying to do today is I want to get a really good vocal sound out of what I got here in this song. I'm gonna go ahead and play the song for y'all, and so you get an idea of what it sounds like. I got a new vocal. I got some new. Let's see. He sent me a new vocal track. I need to go ahead and pull in that vocal track. He's got take 2 right here. Let's go ahead and let's save to files in my computer. We'll save it in WAV MP3 files. Save. Okay, which means I should be able to go over here now to my files. Go to desktop WAV MP3 files. Okay, we're gonna look for take 2. Ghost. See, here's Ghost featuring. We're looking for Ghost take 2. There's just voice. Alright, let's just type it in. There's take 2 right there, okay. So we need to take this take 2, bring it in down here. Bam. So we can kind of line it up with what he's already got, what we already got. See what we, yep, you can see how these WAV files look about the same. Let's listen to his second take with nothing on there. Let me make sure my software is running correctly. Okay, so y'all can see what's going on. Why is it still showing the old? Okay, well, hold on 1 second. Let me make sure I'm streaming here. Okay, cool, I'm streaming. Say hello to everyone. Hello. About to mix some ambient vocals. Alright. Give you guys some hearts. I love you guys. Give you guys some smileys. I love you. Smiley. I'm happy that you guys are here. Let's party. Speaking of partying, drink some of my moon juice. I'm surprised. And you guys are 100. I'm going to keep it 100 with you guys. Alright, so let's go ahead and get back into Logic. I do want to kind of minimize this, make sure I've got the right thing showing up. I don't know why. It's just showing, it's not showing the right thing right now. It's not showing the right thing right now. Yep. Because I'm opening, here's Logic open. I might have to redo this real quick. Ah, there we go. Okay, we got it. We got it figured out. Okay. So I just brought in, what I did basically was I uploaded this take 2, this Ghost RAIAN take 2. This is going to be, I've already mixed his vocals. Let me show you what his vocals already sound like. So I'm going to mute what I just brought in. Let me make sure I'm good. Okay, yeah, looks like I'm good on my live. I'm going to go ahead and play. So this is me singing on this song. My vocals are all up here. These are all my vocals here. And his vocals are down here, like after some 3 down here. And I do have some of his vocals in here mixed with mine because the effects match. Our voices are kind of similar, so I was able to use the same settings on his voice in some of this. Hey, Lori Nash, how are you? Beautiful sweetheart. Lori, one of my top fans, one of my girls. Okay. All right, let's play this song, and let's hear what we got so far in this song. This is what the mix that I have already, not mastered. This is coming right out of Logic. Here we go. Oh, and by the way, I wrote this whole song. There is no samples in this song whatsoever. I played all the instruments, everything. I might have to remix it. But I'll do that later. Right now I'm trying to get the vocals right. Let's see what it sounds like. Okay. So here, that was me in the first part right here, okay? If y'all are paying attention, this is me in the first part here, okay? This is RAIAN right here, okay? And you can see where it, it swaps over from me to him here. But what I did was where he said whoa in his original vocals right here, I'm going to solo this so you can hear it. Let me cycle, bring it over. Less and trust, whoa. Where he says whoa right there, okay? I took that whoa and I put it into a track up here. So these tracks here, let me solo those two. What happened was when he says whoa, I just took his voice and I stuck that same exact sound into a track. Like parallel processing basically, and I added effects to this. This track has real high reverb on it, like a real high reverb on it. So let's listen to what it sounds like. Whoa, broken bottle in my hand. I'm not drunk, just had enough. Okay, so where he says broken bottle in my hand, I'm not drunk, I've had enough. I actually took my voice and went behind him in these two tracks here. So let me open this back up, and it gives it just a real like ambient kind of sound. Listen.
Whoa, broken bottle in my hand. I'm not drunk, just had enough. Whoa, smoke still rising from my lungs. I'm not high, I've just gone numb. I'm not drunk, just had.
Okay, so you listen to it whole.
Whoa, broken bottle in my hand. I'm not drunk, just had enough. Whoa, smoke still rising from my lungs. I'm not high, I've just gone numb.
That's haunting how awesome that sounds. Okay. So he just sent me take two. We're about to listen to take two in just a second. Let's go ahead and let's start from about halfway where I'm going through and just listen to the rest of the song. I'm going to play the song through. Let's play the song through one time so you guys get an idea of what it sounds like. And then from there, we'll go in, we'll see his take two and see if there's anything better in his take two. Because what he's doing is he's recording this on his freaking iPhone, which is crazy. I'm taking his vocals out of his iPhone, putting it in here, processing it, making it sound super, like a lot better than it was. And I'm trying to match like the whole vibe of the song with the reverb, the distance, you know, the compression, all that kind of stuff I needed to match. So let's listen to what we got so far in the song. Hope you enjoy.
Every time you see me falling, you reach down and pick me up. Every time you see me crawling, blood leaks out, you sew it up. In and out of the web, you've seen it. Drag the streets with gold that's gleaming. Flag the weak with strength and dreaming. Sing the ghost and round the meaning. Now I'm trying to figure out how I felt before you found me and picked me up. Maybe this is all my fault. Guess I place too much in my hands and less in trust. Whoa, broken bottle in my hand. I'm not drunk, just had enough. Whoa, smoke still rising from my lungs. I'm not high, I've just gone numb. Just gone numb. Just gone numb. Seen the ghost and found the meaning. Seen the ghost and found the meaning. Every time you see me falling, you flaking. Built of glass, my soul is breaking. Say I'm fine, but I'm just faking. Cut too deep, the light is fading. Hear your voice, my grip is straining. You hold me still, my thoughts are racing. But in your gaze, the storm is waning.
I want to go back and forth with this, like, so instead of me saying right in this spot what I'm saying, I want it to go back to what he said here. So let's start it. Let's cycle from 112, bring it over. He says in your gaze the storm is waning. And then over here, and then over here it says seen the ghost and found the meaning. Okay, this is RAIAN, this is me. I kind of want to go back and forth. Like right now I've got it to where it's just me all the way out, but I really like what he did here. So we're gonna come back. We're gonna find the very beginning of that. Make sure we're dead on the beginning. Okay, looks like we are. We're going to delete that, and then we're going to copy and paste. Okay, so now it should say that's a little off. So I think it came in a little too early. Let's bring it in. Still coming in a little early. Let's bring it over. Let's bring it to this line and just see what it does. Okay. So I'm going to delete this last part. I'm going to and bring that in right here. I like it. Okay, let's go ahead and go in and listen to his new take and see how his new take sounds compared to his old take. So we're going to go ahead and mute. We're going to mute his old.
Now I'm trying to figure out
this sum is not muting, but I guess I'm just gonna have to mute his tracks like this. Okay.
I'm trying to figure out how it felt before you found me and picked me up. Maybe this is all my fault. Guess I played too much in my hands and less in trust. Broken bottle in my hand, I'm not drunk, I've had enough. Smoke the rising from my lungs, I'm not high, I've just got numb. Just got numb. Now I'm trying to figure out.
I like it. It sounds a lot like what he had before. Let me there was a little click over here in the second part. Let me go ahead and unmute this, mute his. Let me show you this click that I'm talking about. Right in here.
Try to stand, but I keep shaking.
He says, try to stand, but I keep shaking. And right when he's saying the word shaking, there's a click right there.
Try to stand, but I keep shaking.
It's something he moved or something while he was recording. So what I want to do here is I want to take his newer track, you know, his newer vocals, and I want to cut out what I want for his. So what I'll do first, I'm gonna go ahead and take the clip gain and turn it up to where it matches. What's the clip gain on this one? Plus 4.2. Let's see what this one will go. Let's go to plus 4.2 and see what happens. That's about right. Okay, we might be able to go up just a tad more.
Try to stand, but I keep shaking. Hide the truth, my mask is flaking.
Okay, I like that. We're gonna go ahead and chop. We're gonna chop right here. Play chop suey. Let's chop here, chop there. Okay, so now we got, this is the new part. So what we need, like, I've got my vocals sounding good. I like my stacks on his voice right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete that. I'm gonna copy that and then bring it in on both of these tracks. Let's go ahead and paste it here, and then we'll paste it here as well. And then now let's mute his new track and listen to what our new section sounds like.
Try to stand, but I keep shaking. Hide the truth, my mask is flaking. Built of glass, my soul is breaking. Say I'm fine.
And I actually might leave this track here and add some effects to it just so we have a little bit more backup vocals on some of these parts. Let me see what it sounds like, because the click's gone. The click that we were hearing just a minute ago, it is now gone. Let me listen to this, just this from here to there, just to see what it sounds like.
Every time you see me falling, you reach down and pick me up. Every time you see me crawling, blood leaks out, you slow it up. Get it out the web, you've seen it. Drag the streets with gold that's gleaming. Flag the weak with strength and dreaming. Sing the ghost around leaning. Try to stand, but I keep shaking. Hide the truth, my mask is flaking. Built of glass, my soul is breaking. Say I'm fine, but I'm just faking. Cut to beat, the light is fading. Hear your voice, my grip is straining. You hold me still, my thoughts are racing. But in your gaze, the storm is waiting.
Yeah, I really like how it kind of, I think I need to cut his voice out of his new track right here, because I love how when you stack vocals, I love how that sounds. It gives it more of an ambient type sound. So I'm going to cut this here and here. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and bring what I'm not using down. That's what I'm not using so far. This is everything that I've used. And I can mute this track. Okay. And then on this track, I might add a little bit of I might actually cut in up here. I'm going to cut in a little bit more of his vocals just to have like a backup track. But what I'm going to do is on his backup track, I'm going to have it, there's actually a stock plugin. I'm going to be honest with you. It's stock as hell, but it's freaking awesome. And it will be in voice, and it's called Telephone Vocal. Telephone Vocal, what's cool about Telephone Vocal is it gives you a higher mid-range frequency. So here, I'll give you an example of it.
Try to stand, but I keep shaking. Hide the truth, my mask is flaking.
So yeah, it gives like you're on a telephone or something, that effect.
Try to stand, but I keep shaking. Hide the truth, my mask is flaking. Built of glass, my soul is breaking. Try to stand, but I keep shaking. Hide the truth, my mask is flaking. Built of glass, my soul.
I want to hear what it sounds like with this in there as well. I'm going to pop that back up and just see what it sounds like.
Try to stand, but I keep shaking. Hide the truth, my mask is flaking. Built of glass, my soul is breaking. Say I'm fine, but I'm just faking.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here. I didn't like that middle part, so we're going to cut this part out here. Take that out, and then so now we got telephone vocal on this part here. Let's go ahead and chop out this little bit of silence. Oh, bink. Bink. Okay, so
try to stand, but I keep shaking. Hide the truth, my mask is flaking. Built of glass, my soul is breaking. Say I'm fine, but I'm just faking. Say I'm fine, but I'm just faking. Cut too deep, the light is fading. Hear your voice, my grip is straining. You hold me still, my thoughts are racing, but in your gate.
okay, might take this part out.
Try to stand, but I keep shaking. Hide the truth, my mask is flaking. Built of glass, my soul is breaking. Try to stand, but I keep shaking. Hide the truth, my mask is flaking. Built of glass, my soul is breaking. Say I'm fine, but I'm just faking. Cut too deep, the light is fading. Hear your voice, my grip is straining. You hold me still, my thoughts are racing, but in your gaze, the storm is waning.
Yes, that sounds great. Okay, I'm gonna bring it back over here and do somewhat similar to the same thing. I'm gonna find the parts that I like over here and then bring it up. And I think it's gonna be basically where I'm singing here is where it's gonna be cut out. I'm gonna go ahead and just chop here because I'm pretty positive this is what's gonna end up happening. Go down here, I'm gonna chop. And what do we got? We got our track that we need is up here. Oh, it slid over just a little bit. Let's go ahead and undo that. Let's bring it straight up. Boom. Okay. Brought that bitch straight up. Let me go ahead and close this over here. Now.
I'm trying to figure out how I felt before you found me and picked me up. Maybe this is all my fault. Guess I placed too much in my hands and less than trust. Whoa, broken bottle in my hand. I'm not drunk, just had enough. Whoa.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how I felt before you found me and picked me up. Maybe this is all my fault. Guess I placed too much in my hands and let some trust. Whoa, broken bottle in my hand. I'm not drunk, just had enough. Whoa.
I love how that like I've got the same thing going on up here with the telephone vocal. I love that mid-range frequency coming in like behind what he's singing. It gives more definition to it, makes it sound haunting in the background. If you're going for that ambient sound, doubling tracks up, using a backup telephone vocal type track or a high mid-range type track, cut out the rest of it. I've got it all cut out here. You can see what's going on with at the low end, and I'm basically boosting the part that has the most kick, right? So
Broken bottle in my hand. I'm not drunk, just had enough. Whoa, smoke still rising from my lungs. I'm not high, I'm just
okay, so we don't need any of that extra shit right there. Let's go ahead and bring this back down because we need to be kind of next to what we were working with. Okay, I'm gonna cut this off here. Boom. T. All right, let's get rid of all that silence there. Okay, we don't need any of that shit. All right, let's listen to it now with the telephone vocal in. See what it sounds like. Actually, in context, I want to hear it. I want to hear it. Okay.
Jontheprofit on the beat.
Every time you see me falling, you reach down and pick me up. Every time you see me crawling, blood leaks out, you sew it up. In and out of the web, you've seen it. Drag the streets of God that's gleaming. Flag the weak with strength and dreaming. Sing the ghost and brown remaining. I'm trying to figure out how I felt before you found me and picked me up. Maybe this is all my fault. Guess I placed too much in my hands and let some trust. Whoa, broken bottle in my hand. I'm not drunk, just had enough. Whoa, smoke still rising from my lungs. I'm not high, I'm just got numb. Just got numb. Just got numb. Seen the ghost and found In your voice, my grip is straining. You hold me still, my thoughts are racing, but in your gaze, the storm is waning.
Okay, it's a little high. I'm gonna bring that down, the backup telephone vocal down by like maybe half a dB. See what that sounds like there.
Bullets breaking, say I'm fine, but I'm just faking. Cut to me,
I just brought it down about a dB and a half, so let's listen to it now.
is flaking. Built to glass, my soul is breaking. Say I'm fine, but I'm just faking. Cut to me, the light is fading. In your voice, my grip is straining. You hold me still, my thoughts are racing, but in your gaze, the storm is waning. Just gonna see the ghost and found me. See the ghost and found me. Just gonna see the ghost and found me. Every time you see me falling, you reach down and pick me up. Every time you see me crawling, blood leaks out, you slow it up. Around the web you've seen it, drag the streets with gold that's gleaming, flag the weak with strength and dreaming, sing the ghost and brown bleeding. Trying to stand but I keep shaking. Hide the truth, my mask is flaking. Built to glass, my soul is breaking. Say I'm fine, but I'm just fake.
So I want the snare to pop a little bit more. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna double that snare track and pop it in just to see what it does.
Every time you see me falling, you reach down and pick me up. Every time.
Okay, and then I'm going to take the kick and do the same fucking thing because I don't like it being so close to clipping level. I could bounce these down into an audio track, which I might do later, but right now I'm going to copy these and I'm gonna just double that track so that I can turn down the volume on both. That way I'm not so close to clipping.
Every time you see me falling, you reach down and pick me up. Every time you see me crawling, blood leaks out, you slow it up. In and out of the web you've seen it, drag the streets with gold that's gleaming, flag the weak with strength and dreaming, sing the ghost and brown bleeding. I'm trying to figure out how I felt.
Do the same with the bass.
Jontheprofit on the beat.
Every time you see me falling, you reach down and pick me up. Every time you see me crawling, blood leaks out, you saw it out. Get out the web you've seen.
Okay, that's creating a problem.
Every time you see me falling, you reach down and pick me up. Every time you see me crawling, blood leaks out, you saw it out. Get it out the web you've seen it. Drag the streets with gold that's gleaming. Flag the weak with strength and dreaming. Sing the ghosts and brown meaning. I'm trying to figure out how I felt before you found me and picked me up. Maybe it's all my fault. Guess I placed too much in my hands and less in trust. Whoa, broken heart in my hand. I'm not drunk, just had enough. Whoa, smoke still rising from my lungs. I'm not high, I'm just gonna, just gonna, just gonna. See the ghosts and found me. See the ghosts and found me. Every time you see me falling, you reach down and pick me up. Every time you see me crawling, blood leaks out, you saw it out. Get it out the web you've seen it. Drag the streets with gold that's gleaming. Flag the weak with strength and dreaming. Sing the ghosts and brown meaning.
So that seen the ghost and found the meaning, that track right there, like what I'm doing is I took the exact same clip and I put it into its own track with different effects on it, right? So these different effects have more echo, like it's got where's my echo on there? Space Designer. It's got delay. I've got kilohertz delay on it, so it gives it that kind of like delay sound, and it drags it out and it gives it that really haunting sound, which this song's more of an ambient song, so that's kind of the sound that you're going to use a lot of delay and reverb and stuff on tracks like this. But so like right here in the beginning where he comes in, it's like
flag the weak with strength and dreaming. See the ghosts and brown meaning. I'm trying to figure out how I felt before you found me and picked me up. Maybe this is all my fault. Guess I placed too much in my hands and less in trust. Whoa, broken bottle in my hand. I'm not drunk, just had enough. Whoa, smoke still rising from my lungs. I'm not high, I'm just gonna, just gonna, just gonna. keep shaking. Hide the truth, my mask is flaking. Built to glass, my soul is breaking. Say I'm fine, but I'm just faking. Cut too deep, the light is fading. In your voice, my grip is straining. You hold me still, my thoughts are racing. But in your gaze, the storm is waning.
Oh my God. So I love that. I love that telephone vocal backup right there, because it's just bringing that higher mid range in, like around the 2000 hertz, and that gives it kind of a just a super haunting sound.
My grip is straining. You hold me still, my thoughts are racing.
So you hold me still, my thoughts are racing. But in your gaze, the storm is waning, you know? So it's like, that's this part here. And I actually took from his new take here, I took it and put an extra one of his voices in here. But I don't know if I have, I'm only using telephone vocal. I'm thinking about putting, let's see what bus 6, let me see what bus 6 is. I'm going to try to turn up a little bit of this reverb on that just to see what it sounds like.
My grip is straining. You hold me still, my thoughts are racing. But in your gaze, the storm. My grip is straining. You hold me still, my thoughts are racing. But in your gaze, the storm is waning.
I just turned up the guitars just a little bit to see if I can mix it in with the vocals some. It may have been a mistake. Let's just see what it sounds like.
as my soul is breaking. Say I'm fine, but I'll just fake it. Cut to me, the light is fading. You know it's my biggest straining. You hold me still, my thoughts are racing, but in your gaze, the storm is waning.
Okay, I really like how it sounds. I'm gonna go through now, and I'm going to turn all of this down to a little bit of a lower level to give it a little bit more control over dBs when I master it. So let's see what it sounds like. Let's bring it down some.
Every time you see me falling, you reach down and pick me up.
Jontheprofit on the beat.
Right here, I just want to add just something just to kind of add a little bit of difference to it. I'm going to throw a delay on there. Let's see what it sounds like. Alright, let's bring it down to like 1/4 and see what happens. Bring this feedback down some.
Jontheprofit on the beat.
Every time you
It's kind of cool.
Jontheprofit on the beat.
Every time you see me falling, you reach down and pick me up. Every time you see me
Jontheprofit on the beat.
Every time you see me falling, you reach down and pick me up. Every time you see me crawling, blood leaks out, you show me out. In and out of the web you've seen it. Drag the streets with gold that's gleaming. Flag the weak with strength and dreaming. Seeing the ghosts around the meaning. I'm trying to figure out how I felt before you found me and picked me up. Maybe it's time to flow. Guess I placed too much in my hands and less than trust. Whoa, broken bottle in my hand. I'm not drunk, just had enough. Whoa, smoke still rising from my lungs. I'm not high, I've just got numb. Just got numb. Just got numb.
Okay, right there where I'm saying just gone numb, I want to bring that up because I said it kind of quiet. So I'm going to chop that and then take just that and bring that up just a tad. Let's see what it sounds like now.
Just got numb. Just got numb. Just got numb.
Yeah. Maybe a tiny bit higher than that. Like, let's try 3. I'm sorry, let's try 0.8 or yeah, let's do 0.8.
Just got numb.
A little bit higher. Let's go to 0.
Just got numb. Just got numb.
Just a tad higher. Let's bring it up to 1 and see what happens. All right.
just don't know.
That's a little better. I like it like that. It's a little better. Let's see what's going on down here.
Your voice under this string, you hold me still, my thoughts are racing, but in your gaze the storm is waiting.
That needs to come up just a hair.
Your voice under this string, you hold me still, my thoughts are racing, but in your gaze the storm is waiting.
Okay, right there needs to come up. Let's go ahead and chop this. Okay, let me get that silence out while we're here. We don't want any of that silence in there, so let's cut that out. Let's cut that silence off the end here. Delete that. Bring this over. Let's cut that. Delete that. Here's some right here. Get rid of that silence. We don't need any of that shit in there. Get rid of that. Okay. Go ahead and do this one as well. Silence. And then here's one right here. Take that silence out. Okay. Now.
Your voice under this string, you hold me still, my thoughts are racing, but in your gaze the storm is waiting.
That's the one that needs to come up. Let's bring this up to about 3. Maybe 4.5. Let's see. Yeah, that sounds a little better.
Your voice under this string, you hold me still, my thoughts are racing, but in your gaze the storm is waiting.
Okay. Let's I'm gonna listen. I have to listen to it in a whole to see if it sounds good. So let's see if I like it yet. See if I like it yet.
Every time you see me falling, you reach down and pick me up. Every time you see me crawling.
I'm taking the tag out. We do not need the tag in there. Okay. Just skip forward.
Every time you see me falling, you reach down and pick me up. Every time you see me crawling, love me so, so in and out the web you've seen it drag Just fake it. Cut to deep, the light is faded. In your voice, my grip is straightened. You hold me still, my thoughts are racing. But in your gaze, the storm is waning.
Okay, let me, I'm going to go ahead and check my master track and just make sure everything on here is sounding all right. Let me check God Particle real quick.
Every time you see me falling, you reach down and pick me up. Every time you see me crawling, blood leaks out, you slow it up. In and out of the web, you've seen it. Drag the streets with gold that's gleaming. Flag the weak with strength and dreaming. Seeing the ghosts around the meaning. Now I'm trying to figure out how I felt before you found me and picked me up. Maybe this is all my fault. Guess I placed too much in my hands and less in trust. Whoa, broken love in my hand. I'm not drunk, just had enough. Whoa, smoke still rising from my lungs. I'm not high, I've just got numb. Just got numb. Just got numb. Seeing the ghosts around me. Less than trust. Whoa, broken bottle in my hand. I'm not drunk, just had enough. Whoa, smoke still rising from my lungs. I'm not high, I've just got numb. Just got numb. Just got numb. Seeing the ghosts around me. Seeing the ghosts around me. Every time fine, but I'm just faking. 'Cause to me, the light is fading. In your eyes, my grip is straining. You hold me still, my thoughts are racing. But in your gaze, the storm is waning. You hold me still, my thoughts are racing. In your voice, my grip is straining. You hold me still, my thoughts are racing. But in your gaze, the storm is waning. In your gaze, the storm is waning.
Okay. It's starting to sound good. At this point, I think let me listen to just the vocal parts one more time just to make sure.
Every time you see me falling, you reach down and pick me up. Every time you see me crawling, blood leaks out, showing out. Give it all the way you see it. Drag the streets of gold that's gleaming. Flag the weak with strength and dreaming. Sing the ghost and found me. Just don't know. Just gotta know. See the ghost who found the meaning of. See the ghost who found the meaning. Every time you see me falling, you reach down and pick me up. Every time you see me crawling, blood leaks out, you sew it up. In and out of the web, you've seen it. Drag the streets with gold that's gleaming. Flag the weak with strength and dreaming. Seen the ghost and found the meaning. Just then, every time you see me falling, you reach down and pick me up. Every time you see me crawling, blood leaks out, you sew it up. In and out of the web, you've seen it. Drag the streets with gold that's gleaming. Flag the weak with strength and dreaming. Seen the ghost and found the meaning. Every time you see me falling, you reach down and pick me up. Every time you see me crawling, blood leaks out, you sew it up. In and out of the web, you've seen it. Drag the streets with gold that's gleaming. Flag the weak with strength and dreaming. Seen the ghost and found the meaning. I'm trying to figure out how I felt before you found me and picked me up. Maybe it's not my fault. Guess I placed too much in my hands and less in trust. Whoa, broken bottle in my hand. I'm not drunk, just had enough. Whoa, smoke still rising from my lungs. I'm not high, I've just got numb. Just got numb. Just got numb. Just got numb. See the ghost and found the meaning. Every time you see me falling, you reach down and pick me up. Every time you see me crawling, blood leaks out, you sew it up. In and out. Try to stand, but I keep shaking. Hide the truth, my mask is breaking. Built of glass, my soul is breaking. Saying fine, but I'm just faking. Cut to be, soul is breaking. Saying fine, but I'm just faking. Cut to be, the light is fading. In your voice, my blood is straining. You hold me still, my thoughts are racing. But in your gaze, the storm is waning. In your gaze, the storm is waning. In your gaze, the storm is waning.
Okay. I like how this sounds. Let me go ahead and bring this back. Get everything. And the mastering looks good down here. Let me see what I got on my compression real quick.
Every time you see me falling, you reach down and pick me up. Every time you see me crawling, blood leaks out, you sew it up. In and fault. Guess I place too much in my hands and legs and drugs. Whoa, broken bottle in my hand. I'm not drunk, just had enough. Whoa, smoke's still rising from my lungs. I'm not high, I've just got numb. Just got numb. Just got numb. Yeah.
Okay. I like it. Let me go ahead and bounce this. We're going to bounce this project, and we're going to do it just in a WAV file. And this song is called Ghost! Exclamation point, and it's featuring Ghost featuring RAIAN and Jontheprofit. We're going to go ahead and replace what we have. And I'm going to go ahead and master it in Virtue. I said this in some of my last videos. I have a subscription to Slate Digital. You pay like a certain amount per month, and you get like a whole bunch of different plugins and stuff. And also with that, you get a mastering service that they have. It's called Virtue, and it's amazing. Like the AI. I mean, if you want to master a song quickly, like if you have a beat, if you make beats or whatever, you want to master a song quickly, this mastering service Virtue works great. I'm about to pull it in there and show y'all how I do it, and we're going to listen to how the song sounds after it's mastered through this AI mastering service. I think I've used my 3. You get 3 free masters per month if you got Slate. I just used my last one on the last video, so I'll have to pay for this one. It's probably going to cost me about $3, but that's okay. I really like this new mix of vocals that we have in this song. It has a real good ambient sound. Very haunting sound. That's kind of what I was going for with it. So, about to see what it sounds like. Alright, our bounce is done. Let's go into Virtue real quick. There it is right there. Let's click on New Master. This is our new song right there. Let's upload that. I usually, for songs like this song, I've used Rock because it just has a good high end. I've already compressed it myself, so I'm going to I can do unchanged, or I can do compressed, but if I do use compressed, I do balanced. And then I put a wider, I expand the image wider to get kind of a fuller sound out of it. And this just takes a second. Once it's in there, I just click master. And it'll just take a second once it's mastered. So see, I just got a notice on my phone. It tells me that it's charged my card $3 and however $3.17 or something. So that's okay, because like it's worth it. Like when you get a song down, you really like that song, trust me, it's worth it. It brings your volume up to like standard level. There's other options I could have shown y'all in there, but like you can choose like standard streaming, or you can do like CD level, which is like 20 dB, or you can do like the loudest, which is like super loud. But I do standard streaming. Click here to download my master. It comes down here into my file, my download files. Let's go ahead and bring my song that I did earlier over, and then let's go ahead. This should play automatically. Once it downloads all the way, it'll play, and we'll be able to hear what it sounds like. Here we go. Yes. Okay. Let me stop that. Okay. Awesome. So yeah, I like the way that sounds. I may go back and change it up just a little bit, but I really like the way that sounds. That's just a little bit of how I do my vocal mixing, and not really and quick mastering. But I'm glad you guys stopped by today to chill for a minute to see how I do things. I think I'm gonna kick off for the night. I got to do some work tomorrow and stuff like that. So I just want to say peace to all and thank you for being here. And I love you all. That's what this means. I love you in sign language. ILY. I love you. Yeah, I appreciate every one of y'all. And if you want to check out finished beats, check me out. Profit Sounds over here on the side in the chat bar. That Profit Sounds with the 3 Z's. That's me. Click on that. It should take you to like some finished tracks and stuff. Or you can check this this YouTube and or this YouTube account, and you should be able to find other finished stuff that I've done. But I hope you guys have a good night. Thank you for being here. Peace out. Sleep well. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Later.